The following podcast is a production focused on storytelling, exploring new TTRPG systems and their supplements. This podcast is not sponsored by any of the systems or their owners and is meant to be a fun, interactive book club. Respective credits for songs, sound effects, and resources are listed within the description or details. And with that, please enjoy, adventurer. That's a lovely way to start this one off. Welcome to the Tables and Fables podcast, the interactive TTRPG book club where we pick up new mechanics, bubble through systems, and ultimately tell fun stories together. I am your DM, GM, and proximity beatboxer. But let me introduce our primary beatboxer. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, dear Lord. I'm Collin, the beatboxer. I'm playing Benjamin.
This is Amanda, who plays Scrap. You all should know he beatboxes for my dog, and that's why he's her favorite.
Oh, Lydia.
But yeah, so I know that it might be a while for some people, but please, can you be put on the spot once again? So get up on the stage and tell us what has occurred, what has happened in Swamplands.
Started off after applying the frog skin to Scrap's neck. After that all healed up, went running into the marshes, came across Craig and Claude, the ogres who were snacking on a dwarf, decided to fire upon them and found out quickly that was a very bad idea. With 2 health points left, I was dragged off the battlefield and Benjamin ran to safety, where we
We
stayed the night.
lived!
We lived by the skin of our teeth, and found a little camp where we found barrels full of sludge and health potions. Managed to rest up, and now we have arrived at Castle Raulnor.
And just in case anyone is counting, our current high score on Nat
No.
1s was
No,
Consecutive
5.
or,
It was
not
about 5.
non-consecutive.
With the surprise dual Nat 1, that is about as good as it gets. So, all we need now is a dual Nat 20. Waiting for it.
yes. See that good luck. Don't start talking about all these nat ones, because
I mean, we got them
oh,
all out of the way last time, so that there's no other ones left. Come on, Nat 20s.
somewhere there's a Fey Lord who's rolling up his sleeves and goes, "Oh, you think you're done?"
How did we catch the ire of a Fey Lord? What did we do to him?
Posting about the nat ones.
No, I guess.
And last week came in, your little dinghy that you had taken from the campsite that you had found scraped up against the cobblestone, the flooded ruins essentially of Castle Raulnor. It is a dilapidated state of a castle, moss and various other murky waters kind of taking over a majority of the structure. It is a complete ruin. It is definitely something that, if you were to look at it from afar, almost looks more akin to that of a rotting corpse in some way, simply because of just all the strange plants, fauna, flora, and everything else that is growing over this not creaking, not even rusting, eroding. That's the word,
There you go.
eroding structure. The front entryway that you arrive in is flooded with murky water, with 2 large wooden gate doors that float upon the water in front of you. On your right, there is a hallway that extends to a closed, rusted metal door. To your left, the hallway extends further down before twisting right. You see occasionally the odd skeleton, floating baubles, swamp mire, and branch in the water.
This seems homey.
Benjamin kind of gingerly steps out of the boat, kind of listens down the hall for any voices, footsteps, anything like that. I wonder if there's anybody here.
Do we see any evidence of the second boat that wasn't at the campsite before?
In this area, so go ahead and give me an active perception check.
I'll join with that check.
Out of 5?
I got a 16.
Scrap, you are unable to find anything directly that matches to that of a boat. Benjamin, you do see that they're off to the side here. Let me see where you're. Oh, I did not put it on the map. Whoops. Docked here, tied to the wall by like a ring, a metal iron ring. You're able to see that there is a boat that is docked there.
Is it
The
kind of
water-
similar to the one that we have?
Yes, it is. In fact, if you notice, the depth here is not especially deep. It's probably closer to maybe about half a foot. So it's kind of difficult terrain because of the murkiness and associated with that of just the amount of water here. But it's enough that a boat could come in here and dock essentially.
Just really quickly, I tap Scrap on the shoulder. Scrap, look. It's the boat, kind of like ours from the campsite. I think that's the second one.
Looks about it. Kind of looking at the boat. I suppose there's not a way to tell how long it's been docked here. But I guess she kind of hops over to see if there's anything in the boat that's left behind by the previous riders.
So you don't even need to roll anything for this. You see inside the boat there is a number of small packs. These packs contain some day rations, some empty glass smoked bottles, and also the oars.
She takes the packs with the rations in them, kind of pockets them, and she decides to kind of hop back to where Benjamin's standing. She hands him half of the packs of rations and whatnot. Wasn't much left behind, unfortunately, but snacks. So which way are we gonna go? She's looking down both ways.
I suppose. Let's go to the right.
Scrap kind of whispers, "There's somebody else clearly here. We should be quiet. As best we can, anyway."
All right, quiet it is. Sure.
She twiddles her fingers, summoning Mage Hand, so it floats forward and touches the door.
The green mage spectral hand of kind of a rat claw essentially reaches forward and touches the door. Nothing happens. It is touching against a heavy metal rusted door.
Kind of uses to jiggle the handle of the doorway.
It is open. You see as it opens, it descends to a staircase that winds about and descends.
Okay.
Going down? Does it look flooded, though? So we start kind of making our way down.
This area doesn't look too flooded. You make your way down. As you descend down, you find that you descend into a cellar area with several large barrels on the far right-hand side of the cellar area that is slightly flooded, not terribly. It is dripping water from the ceiling. But you see that there are a number of mushrooms that are growing out of the walls. But the thing that really you notice, on the far-hand side, you see a giant frog eating the mushrooms, while there is also a snake man standing directly behind him that is basically keeping watch. And he looks to you and immediately hisses.
Stunned, Benjamin puts his hands up in a gesture just to show that we're non-aggressive.
The snake man, he pulls back on a leash that's on the giant frog's neck and just kind of recoiling it back as he continues to hiss. And as he continues to hiss, he starts drawing a scimitar.
Listen, we don't want anything with your frogs or your mushrooms. We're going. Maybe. Do you speak common?
Yes!
Hi, I'm Scrap. What's your name?
Who sent you?
No one. We're just wanderers.
Ah, you from Malias?
I don't know what that. I genuinely don't know what that is.
The snake man says something in Draconic and releases the leash from the frog, and it jumps forward. Roll initiative. Top of the initiative order is the giant frog. It goes and leaps clear over and attacking. You're both at the top of the stairs here. Just gonna say, just because we don't have as much room. Scrap, you're gonna be kind of directly next to Benjamin, but the frog attacks you. As it leaps forward, its mouth wide open, exposing it of its deep pink mouth, attacking Scrap. And it goes to bite. That's a 7.
Does not hit.
Okay, as it leaps forward and lands, it goes to bite, and you move out of the way as its amphibious jaws slap shut, giving a strange wet sound as it croaks next to you in anger. Next up is then the Snake Man. The one thing you notice about this Snake Man as well is that he has deep black skin, deep black scales. This individual also, purely in appearance as well, looks to be a snake man in that the entire body itself is humanoid, and then the head is kind of leading up into a black snake head. He is going to actually take out his short bow as opposed to a scimitar, and he's going to fire at Benjamin. He looses an arrow at you. Okay, that is a critical miss. He hits his frog by mistake as the arrow hits it in the back of its bloated body for 7 piercing. The frog lets out an angry croak and just looks back briefly for a moment, but then the snake man hisses once more, and the frog goes back to its attention dedicated to that of scrap.
What are you doing?
He is going to attack again with his short bow. Still Benjamin. That is a 22 to hit.
Yes.
Okay, an arrow fires forth from his short bow, landing into you for 5 piercing. And he is also going to move back, journeying further back into the area next to the barrels. Benjamin.
At being damaged, since he favors flight, but upon being damaged, fight has been activated now. The bone sword, he extends his long bone sword from his palm, and he's got this worried but determined look on his face, and he goes to strike at the frog. 23 to hit.
That defo hit.
He lets out a yell, "Ah!" and goes for 10 slashing damage, slashing down across him.
This frog is looking pretty rough.
I don't have any bonus actions here, so I will go ahead and end my turn.
Okay. Scrap.
Seeing that the frog is getting low in health, she's going to take out her hand axe and take a swing at it.
That does not hit, unfortunately, for a 10. You bring your hand axe down as the frog is just moving from side to side too aggressively, wanting to attack you, and as it's kind of running its next attack, you misjudge where its position is, and you slam your hand axe down on the stone steps.
She's like, oh, for fuck's sake! And she brings her finger around, fires at disadvantage, finger gun.
That defo hits. How do you kill this frog?
I imagine it croaks, she fires, goes into its mouth, with the force damage, just pops that thing like a balloon.
Oh, jeez. You are, both of you, covered with viscera as this frog basically, as it just goes directly in its mouth, its eyes just widen for a moment, and then it just pops completely, just with a shower of blood and various bone. Seeing its frog die, you can see there's some visible frustration as it knocks another arrow. It's backing up against the wall, but knocks another arrow and fires directly at Benjamin, because that's where the attack is still going. That's an 11.
I like to say if it's going towards the same spot it hit him, he sees his bones harden and it clatters off of his bones and doesn't do anything.
And he's going to attack again with the short bow. However, this time he is going to attack Scrap as he knocks another arrow and fires. That's a 5.
Does not hit.
Benjamin, your turn.
He begins to slowly walk forward with his bone sword brandish, and he speaks to him. You can put it down. He steps forward. It's 2 of us against you. Continues to step forward, and he's got his sword brandish. Don't want to continue to fight. Takes another step until he's on top of him, and he's right there. And he's like, he's got the bone sword outstretched, and he's like, I will swing it again, though, if you want to keep fighting. His voice is shaky, but he does try to intimidate him with his bone swords.
Oh, okay. Intimidation. Very well. Make a intimidation check.
Oh,
would you like to share with the class?
okay. It's a good day today. It is a nat 20.
Nat 20. This snake man, seeing as you intimidate him, you're visibly shaking, but there is a resoluteness in your eyes and your gaze, a steeliness almost, built up from years of wanting to help individuals, and a bravery that comes out only rarely in situations in which you know that there is no other choice, and you are presenting the singular choice in this situation to stop. The snake man lowers his bow and arrow and just puts it away, putting up his hands slightly as his eyes squint a little bit as he hisses at you. You are out of combat.
Miss Scrap, can you tie him up?
Scrap walks forward. She pulls out her bunch of silken rope and she ties knots around him.
Give me a sleight of hand check. I would say with advantage because you have tied knots on ships and everything like that before, so. Okay, I mean, that's, yeah, an 11, that's not bad. You tie his, like, how do you tie his hands?
Imagine down at his sides, kind of towards his hips, kind of.
Behind his back, in front?
Behind his back.
He looks to you both, his tongue occasionally flicking out at you as his eyes are continue to be squinting at you, Benjamin, and then occasionally glancing over at Scrap.
Thank you for lowering your weapon. I'll do the same for now. And he slowly recedes his bone sword into his hand, making sure he sees it. What is your name?
Liska.
All right, Mr. Lisk.
Liska.
How is it spelled above table?
Lisska.
Okay, Liska.
Is that many S's? Yes.
All right, Mr. Liska. What are you doing here?
His tongue flicks out once more as he refuses to answer anything.
You were worried about us coming from somebody named Elias. Friend of yours?
You do not serve Elias.
I genuinely don't know anybody. May I make a history check to see if I know of or have heard Dr. Honeyeater reference?
Sure.
That's a 5.
No, there's nothing that you can recall Dr. Honeyeater speaking about of an Elias or anything of that nature.
What does he look like?
You see his eyes widen a moment as he stands up a little bit, almost kind of proud in a sense. Elias is life-bringer. Elias is best. I'm really hoping that these S's are not popping too hard in the recording.
they're not.
No, they sound good. I'm taking notes.
Lifebringer. Like a doctor?
Doctor.
He describes Dr. Honeyeater's mask and outfit.
He cocks his head to one side and just... Elias is not doctor.
Is Elias a snake man like you?
He gives a very loud hiss. Elias more than snakeman.
What is he then?
Elias ascended snake.
So not a snake man, a snake.
He doesn't respond as he keeps his gaze directly at you, a rat.
She kind of feels the heat from those eyes a little bit. Does Elias live here? Or are you foraging out in the wild somewhere?
Elias rules swamp. Elias rules all.
Is he behind the strange iridescent frogs and other weirdness happening?
He gives an aggressive hiss.
Is that a happy hiss, bad hiss, proud hiss?
Give me an insight.
What type of hiss?
You are unable to determine exactly what this hiss is. It's a very angry snakeman.
I turn and look at the mushrooms behind me where the frog was eating them. What do these mushrooms look like?
They are a deep black with an iridescence about them.
Did you eat these as well? As he gestures to the mushrooms.
He gives another hiss. Doesn't say anything else beyond that.
Miss Scrap, what if we gave him one to eat?
Are you saying force feed him a mushroom? It's not very helpful of you, as she says with a smile.
As we say that, how does he react to hearing us say that?
Give me an insight.
That's
You don't
a
get
5
it.
from me.
You don't get anything from him.
Mhm.
Neither of you. You don't get anything from it. It's just he just hisses.
Well, he was feeding his pet frog. You know what? May I investigate the body of the frog or what's left of it?
Sure.
See if it has any of the similar iridescent spots that we saw on the big toad.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a medicine.
I keep my body in front of him to tell him just to stay put where he is at
17. Much
while she
better.
does so.
Looking over this frog scrap, you are able to crouch down and see kind of the remnants of this kind of corpse that has bloomed out like some sort of gory flower from your attack. You see bits and pieces that are a darker shade of not green. You can tell it's kind of getting to a deep black, but it's not fully there.
Does the snake have also iridescent skin? The snake man?
It's a deep black, but if you look close enough, I wouldn't even say you'd have to roll for this. You could see that it's slightly iridescent.
I feel like he might have been from the swamp and has ascended and was trying to help this this frog do the same.
He was clearly disappointed the frog died. I would think something, maybe he was harvesting and maybe excretes it from its skin or something that they can harvest in some way. Are there more you ugly fuckers out there in this castle right now? She says, rounding on him.
You just saying that, or you're intimidating, or
Sure, let's try intimidate. She kind of she pulls up her hand with the burns on it, kind of glows green. As she does so, her hand twiddles that same green.
oh, fate die. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can note the fate die. Ooh.
Nice.
As you do this, Scrap, the magical energy leaking from that of your hand as you shoot a fiery gaze at him, you could see for a moment the hostility flickers and his brow furrows, going into an expression of concern of seeing a creature so small yet so fierce in front of him. Yes,
How many?
2 of my siblings.
2 of them, huh? Do you have any questions for? Sorry.
No, I'm trying to figure out. They're here to. I think they're here to either harvest or feed.
Mushrooms have something to do with it. I think we should probably take some of them with us.
Yes. What do we do about him?
She turns back to him. Have you ever had dealings with any dwarves in the area?
He gives a deep-seated hiss. It seems almost completely offended in the sense of just in deep anger. No, shortman.
I mean, above table, the key phrase they asked us to use was, "We found the snakes." So it's like, how much did the dwarves know about this, you know? I say we leave them.
Let's knock him out.
Starts to hiss as you say this.
Hey, if you don't make a fuss, we'll just take the ties off you. You can go back to your little scale friends after we're done here.
He continues to hiss.
In order to knock him out,
I would say that this would be a situation of you're giving me a because I haven't really encountered this as something. I would say that because it's not just like all right, keep making non-lethal attack rolls until you knock
just
it down to
beat them
0.
with these-
Just full of curb stomping him into the ground. I would just say just go ahead and give me an attack roll, a non-lethal attack roll. Just give me one. Okay. Yep. I would say that would. Yep. That beats it. So there you go. He is knocked out.
okay. Are these barrels that are near us empty?
You examine the barrels, and I would say you don't need to make a check for this. They seem filled with something.
I was gonna say we should stuff them in one, but
Well, let's see what's inside the barrels. See if we could dump it out or, you know.
I wonder if they're like wine casks. Are they
I
like
hope so.
facing side like casks, or what? I guess investigate the barrels to see what type they are before.
Okay, Scrap, you recognize these as large wine barrels for use in kind of like if there were celebrations or of that nature. However, you know that there's some spigots directly underneath each one, but there's not like a way of opening them up necessarily beyond that of the top parts, very top. These are easily since this is a gnomish castle, it's 7 foot up.
Do you have a canteen or a water skin?
I have my hands. She toggles one of the spigots open to see if any viable wine comes out.
Instantly, an amount of deep black iridescent fluid begins spilling upon the ground.
Close it,
She
close it,
immediately
close it.
closes it. She cranks on it so it stops. Vintage. I suppose we can leave him in here. I mean, there's no other way out of this room, is
And is he tied sufficiently enough to where you think he wouldn't be able to get loose without a lot of struggling?
How heavy are these barrels, do you think?
Well, like I said, they're about 7 foot high, and they're filled.
Oh, sure. So I want my rope back. I don't want to barricade him in here, but
Let's leave him down here tied up. Let's also tie up his feet.
sounds good.
We've got 50 feet of rope. You won't need 50 feet. I'll cut off about 5 feet just to
We're gonna bisect
his-
my rope?
my rope. I've got 50 feet. So I'll cut off a length of 5 feet, and tie his feet together. And if his hands are behind him, you can kind of connect the hands to the feet.
Kinky.
I was just about to say, oh, Shabari, okay, cool.
Man, oh man. First snake person we see, and we're already just getting into it.
Getting kinky with a snaky.
Oh boy.
Flexible.
Oh man.
Tell you
Yeah,
when you're older.
it'll make it tough for him to, if he does get free, make it tough for him to, or when he wakes up, tough to get out. So go and grab my small knife, and I'm going to take a sample of the mushroom.
All right. It's not something terribly hard to do. You just cut off a piece of the mushroom, and you. Where do you store this?
This is going to go inside my backpack.
Okay. Are you wrapping it in anything? Are you putting it in anything, or is it just going straight in your backpack?
This is going to go in. I had used my common clothes before as other things. I'm no longer going to be using these as an extra set of clothes. So I will continue to go into my last set of common clothes and tear into the shirt and make sure that they are bundled into that shirt. I'm wearing a shirt.
Okay.
I'm good.
I also check the snakeman's pockets if he's got pockets.
Yeah, he's wearing like a rough lower coverings. He is carrying looks to be about 35 copper. He is also carrying a piece of paper written in Draconic.
Pulls it out and stares at it, squinting. I don't know, can you read scale? Scale speak, whatever this is.
I don't even know what this is. I've never seen this language before.
She stows it in her pocket. Anything else on Snake Guy?
Nope.
Scrap picks up his scimitar and it's like, well, we can at least kind of barricade the doors at the top of the stairs with this thing.
That sounds like a good idea. Was there anything else of note in this room as I do one last pass over?
Nothing really. There's a couple of looks to be various pots and stirring implements, things used potentially for brewing, but that's about it.
Well, back upstairs we go. 2 other siblings.
I don't suspect it's going to go quite as well.
I mean, the guy did do us a favor of shooting his own frog. Ascended snake.
Elias. You noticed that he had that same iridescent skin. I wonder if he ate enough of the mushrooms to become like that.
Strange. I've never seen a person like that before. Do you think he started as a snake and just started shrooming it up, or was a guy under a snake person, deity, god, ascended snake thing?
I don't know.
Well, see what else we can find.
Do we want to go to that other side? We went down the right side, so let's check out the left now.
You make your way through that of the murky waters. And also, I should mention, by the way, because Scrap has the associated amphibious adaptation, this is technically, where all this water is, difficult terrain, but since you're able to swim, you're able to move through this a little bit quicker. So anywhere there's waters, be aware of that.
I imagine she goes by Benjamin backstruck like, man, this is good. Test out next time we find a big ugly frog.
He laughs.
Benjamin, you arrive down further into the hallway. You find another door. This one is of lesser make. It appears to be a sturdy, bloated wooden door with water seeping directly underneath it, kind of going into a different area, it appears.
Miss Scrap. He points out the door.
Yeah, there is a scrap and yes, door.
Do you want to use your hand thingy?
She's already projecting the hand thingy towards the bloated door with the hand first, kind of touching it.
Yeah, nothing happens. The green spectral rat hand touching against the door.
Kind of finds its way over to the door handle and turns.
It opens up. Benjamin, you're able to see down the hallway to a large open area. There appears to be something directly in the center of this room, but you're unable to see from this area of exactly what it is from this distance.
Looks like there's something in there. And he begins to go forward into the room.
As you get closer and closer, you find that this appears to be some sort of flooded lavatory area. Where there are various other toilets that are standing there. However, as you get even closer, you find that the mound that is directly in front of you begins to shift. And you find that as it starts to rise up, bits of flesh and bone and various other viscera begin to drop off this thing. Its skin is a mixture of mottled black and tans, and as it rises up, it turns to you, and you see a familiar face in the sense that you have fought something like this earlier, but this face is half rotted and diseased. And you see a giant ogre zombie.
Oh! Whoa! You want to back up and shut the door?
It begins to move forward, just
Back up, back up, back up, back up.
She takes the mage hand that's still there and swings at the ogre. That's an advance.
okay.
Here's the worst part. It doesn't even let me roll because it's technically mage hand, so I have to, here.
Yeah.
Is it bigger than the hallway that we're currently standing in?
Yes,
Okay, that was a 12 to hit.
that hits.
Okay, so that was how much? 1d6 force damage. 4 points of force damage, and he is kicked backwards in the laboratory.
He seems nonplussed as he's kicked backwards up against the door, up against the far end of the wall of the laboratory. He slams down, and several of the toilets break, causing a deluge of disgusting, what you could only assume is hopefully mud, continues to spew out of it as he lumbers back up and starts to move forward to you.
Miss Scrap, back up!
Okay, you back up.
You
back
still
up.
not
Just shut the
initiative, though?
door!
So what'd you do? What'd you do, Benjamin?
I backed up alongside Miss Scrap and slammed the door. Slammed it shut.
I'm gonna make a few rolls here. Boom! You hear as essentially the ceiling rumbles as dust kind of falls around you.
Since by this theory, so he's banging on the door. The mage hand's still on the
You
other
didn't
side.
say
No,
he was banging
he's
on
not.
the door.
He's not banging on the door. So if you looked at that hallway, it's a small hallway. This thing is big. It's trying to get through. Bangs again as the dust falls off as well. Benjamin, are you leaning up against the door? Where are you right now?
I had backed away from the door I'm 5 feet away from the door. I had stopped. As the second bang, I would back up another 5, just like.
Well, the third bang, the door rattles slightly as dust falls once more, and then nothing.
Let's stay out of that room. I think I saw all I needed to see, and I didn't need to go to the bathroom.
You think that thing's gonna stay put?
At this moment, I'm just going to go away from it. I don't want to reopen the door. So let's continue.
As we're speaking quietly, do we hear any other commotion in the rest of the castle who heard this rattling, rumbling?
Give me a perception check. With an 18 for perception, your rat-like ears twitch as they kind of try to angle themselves slightly to listen for any kind of other additional noise or disturbances. However, all you can really hear is that of the light wakes and ripples of water around you and Benjamin, and kind of the occasional drip of water from the ceiling. You don't seem to hear anything else.
Is there any other way we can go? Speaking to Benjamin.
How about behind us over here? And he walks as sees there is a corpse over here as well.
Arriving past this area, so you've gone further into the northern end of the main chamber, you see remnants of stone support structures, walls and fallen beams, evidence of past rooms and more, now dilapidated and rotting. At the far north end of this chamber, you find something different in structure and form than the rest of this castle. It's almost juxtapositioned a little bit to it. There are 3 small pillars with 3 jars of various size upon each pillar. There is a small jar in the center pillar, a large jar on the right, and a medium jar on the left. Before each of these pillars is a stone plate upon the floor, each depicting a rough visage carved into the stone. In the center plate, the side profile of a mammoth. On the left plate, a winding snake. And on the right plate, a bloated fish. Also upon the floor is a chained rusted red ladle, its inner bowl slightly filled with water. Above these jars, along the wall, you see scrawling in common that says, "Utilize the house symbols to journey the keep. Instructions are within your tongue. Close each door when out." Nearby, you find a scratched stone tablet with writing upon it, but you are unable to determine the type of writing or language.
Gonna need some of that repeated.
Sure.
Okay, so
Starting when the beginning, small in the middle, large on the right, medium on the left.
There are 3 pillars, yes. And upon each pillar, there are 3 jars. A small jar on the center pillar, a large jar on the right, and a medium jar on the left. And in front of each pillar are 3 stone tiles, like plates upon the ground, a mammoth in the center plate, a winding snake in the left plate, and a bloated fish on the right plate. There's also a rusted chained red ladle upon the floor, its inner bowl slightly filled with water.
Sorry, mammoth, bloated fish, and then what was the other one?
Winding snake on the left plate.
Kind of looking into the jars, is there any sort of liquid in them already?
You do not see any liquid inside of the jars. There is remnants of potentially what maybe used to be liquid from past previous encounters, but there's no there's not a sufficient amount in each one.
Well, do you think right off the bat that the size of the jars would coincide with the type of animals it depicts? The large jar for the mammoth, the medium for the snake, and the small for the fish?
Can I hear the common phrase again? Utilize the house symbol.
Utilize the house symbols to journey the keep. Instructions are within your tongue. Close each door and out.
Like a phrase, maybe.
The answer is in your tongue. What was that last part?
Utilize the house symbols to journey the keep. Instructions are within your tongue. Close each door when out.
Inspecting the ladle with the liquid, is it just water, or is there something else in that ladle?
It appears to be water.
Do you recognize any of these house symbols? I mean, you hung out with the gnomes, right? Any of these correlate to any kind of family you know of?
Well, as he thinks, I'll go ahead and make a is
Are
there
you proficient with
gnomish?
history or
No.
Um,
Would I maybe know the gnomish symbol?
sure. So go ahead and give me. I'm gonna say with advantage because you have lived with the gnomes.
There's a 14 for remembering.
14. So you recognize that the center plate, the side profile of the mammoth, is the symbol of the noble house of Raulnor. It's a fairly common symbol you would find in small town, actually. Mammoths being what they are for being so good for gnomes and what they would utilize them for.
And he points it out, the mammoth, the side profile of the mammoth. That's the house symbol for Raulnor. So I do recognize that one. Have you maybe seen the fish one before, or the snake?
Well, it says utilize the house symbols to journey the keep, and this is Ralnor's place, right?
Yeah.
Looking at the jars, I wonder what happens if we try to lift them up.
You try to lift the jars up. Give me strength checks.
There's an 8 from me.
Ah. You find that as you lift upon these jars, they are rather heavy, heavier than they have almost any right being.
We didn't see any liquid in there.
What is the plate? What is the stone plate in front of the large jar?
Is the bloated fish.
Maybe since we can't switch them around, we just fill the mammoth jar? See where that happens?
Okay. Instructions are in tongue in our tongue. Do I see any instructions for the Raulnor?
You had seen a. There was a nearby scratch stone tablet with writing upon it, but it is in Draconic.
And there's no other writing in the room that I could maybe find that had any other languages.
No.
You speak Gnomish, don't you? Say Raulnor. I suppose that would be a title. Never mind. It says the instructions.
Oh, I think it might.
Huh.
And this is scrawled in common on the wall, right?
Yes.
Because it sounds like this might have been. The instructions are in tongue. This might have been a message from the snake siblings to one another. If the instructions are in their tongue, I think this is a message that they gave for themselves.
Should we just fill the jar, see what happens in front of the mammoth?
Okay.
There's nearby water, and again, the rusted red ladle is on a chain, so you fill up the jar that has the mammoth. Just completely fill it up.
Yes, it's a small one. So
As you do so, you hear an odd chiming sound to your left upon a wall. And you now see that there is an odd chiming sound, and as you do, you see that the stonework of the wall begins to shift and turn into that of a door.
Hey, look at that.
well, I go to this is the door to our left, and I go
Yes.
and take a look at the door, kind of test the handle.
Doorway. Excuse me. It's just a doorway.
Okay. Yeah. Well, take a look inside.
You see in this room that it is a small circular room with an old stone throne in the middle, small enough for someone easily to sit upon if they were of gnome size. There is a shaft of light coming from far above directly into the center, and around the walls you see various symbols. You see that of a bellowing mammoth, similar to the center plate, a winding snake, similar to the similar to the left plate, a bloated fish, similar to the right plate, a series of red hills, which you are not familiar with, a series of pine trees, which you are not familiar with, and a depiction of a bleeding wolf, which you are not familiar with.
And Benjamin is calling out as he's looking at all of these symbols and describing them. There's even more symbols in here.
They
Is it
etched
kind of
into the
like-
walls? Yeah.
That was going to be my...
Yeah, they are etched. Basically, they're reliefs into the walls surrounding that of this room upon the walls.
Does this chair look like it's triggered by any sort of sensor if somebody would sit in it?
You would have to give me an investigation check to
Okay.
investigate if there was a trigger in the chair or anything.
Kind of take a look at it. 11.
11. You do not know anything in particular about the chair.
Is there anything else in this room besides the throne and the hieroglyphics and the stuff on the wall?
You notice that there are several dash marks underneath each respective sigil. There are...
Starting from like the mammoth.
With the mammoth, there is none. For the snake, there is 3. For the fish, there is 4.
What about the hills, pine trees, and bleeding wolf?
There are none.
I see some etched marks, and he calls out the number.
So I'm sorry, how many in front of the snake and the bloated fish? So 3 in the snake, 4 in the fish?
Yes. And these are etched into the wall, like scrawled upon.
What does it mean? And it's just a stone chair.
It's a stone chair. It looks like a throne.
Have I seen anything in gnomish around the room?
I would say you would see actually underneath the sigils, you would see the respective names. You would see under the mammoth, Raulnor, under the winding snake, Biddlecott, the bloated fish, Florbach, Red Hills, Indelbind, Pine Trees, Sweet Pine, and the bleeding wolf, Olkbont.
And he's like, I see some gnomish. And he reads it off, calling out to Scrap.
Scrap kind of twiddles her fingers for a moment, creating that mage hand and kind of taps at the chair to see if anything happens.
You're tapping upon a chair with a green spectral hand.
She kind of touches the mammoth relief in particular to see if there's any reaction.
You are touching the mammoth relief.
Hmm.
It's old, covered in moss. Or mildew, rather. Water damage, etc.
I wonder what these sigils mean, Benjamin says as he sits in the chair.
You look almost comical, considering that your size is not really matching to that of the size of the chair. Were you in a more populated area, potentially you would be embarrassed.
It doesn't feel nice. I stand back up.
Well, yeah, it's because you're so tall. Move. And she kind of shoves him, and then she sits down on the chair.
You are a rat upon that of a throne.
Doesn't look that
He
much
gets
better for you.
Yeah, but at least I make it look good. And she kind of sits sideways on it. She knocks 3 times on the side of the chair.
Nothing happens.
Dang it.
Is there anything else you wanted to try in the room before we leave it?
No. Well, let's close the door behind us, see what happens.
I think it's a doorway, so I think we need to remove the water, maybe?
Is there a physical door that manifested, or just the archway?
It's a doorway. Like think of it like a Harry Potter situation of like the stones moving across, etc., to reveal that.
Got it.
Yeah, I think we just need to empty the water out of it. He goes to the ladle and begins to remove the water from it so we can close the doorway.
Okay, you remove the water from that jar, and as you do so, ladling out as much as possible to the very bottom, the doorway then shifts, and there's a chime, and it closes.
3 notches for the winding snake, 4 for the bloated fish. Well, do you want to check out the other pots?
Let's try the snake next.
Fill the medium left jar.
The one on the left-hand side is the winding snake, Fiddlecott. You fill it up. Nothing happens.
Empty it.
We try the
Might as
large one on the right, loaded
Mhm.
fish.
You fill it up. Nothing happens.
We didn't really. The mammoth had 0 notches, but the bloated fish had 4. Perhaps. Let's see. There's a stone plate. Can you knock on it 4 times with the mage hand?
Twiddles her fingers and knocks 4 times on the bloated fish sigil.
Nothing happens.
Thank you for bearing with our intelligence, folks.
Yeah. See, this would be safe for the discussion part, but this is always a danger whenever you come across dungeon diving and you're trying to design puzzles, or even well-produced puzzles. You hope that you don't make it too complicated or too simple at times. Because good lord, I remember the one time that you guys were going through this one puzzle, and it was many years ago, Colin, where you were going with a one puzzle where involving like a platform, and you and the person we were playing with, you went through this elaborate method rather than just simply doing. You just had to go onto the platform, and that's it.
Didn't we bring chairs and everything too? And there was
Yes, you did. It was agonizing. Anyway, continue on, please.
Well, now we're in our current agony. You know what? Let's fill up the middle one again, the mammoth, because that actually did something, and see what happens.
Okay.
The doorway is revealed to you into that of the. You hear a chime. The doorway is revealed into that throne room again.
Can we fill up
Exactly the
multiple
same as
ones?
before.
Yes.
I fill up. Is there enough to fill up the medium jar, unless the winding snake at the same time?
You would just be ladling water, so it just really depends. Like once, twice, 3. You would just keep on ladling however you would like in the left. Yeah, so depending on which one you want to be filling.
Okay. In that case, just to try it out, removing the water, I'm going to be very specific with the ladles. Then, for the winding snake jar, after I remove the water, I'm going to do 3 ladles of water into the winding snake jar. 3 ladles specifically. 1, 2, 3.
You hear a chime, and at the far southwestern end of the castle, you hear some shifting, and a doorway is revealed to you.
Let's go and see.
All right. She kind of leads over. She's like, "Sure."
After you. Looking into the room.
You enter this area and discover there is a fair amount of water that has flooded what you consume to be was once the southwesternmost tower. Entering into this area, the murky swamp water sloshes away at your feet, cascading slowly down a series of stairs that wind downward at the far end of the chamber. The other thing that you noticed is that there are several bodies that float in this water, bloated, some chewed, and others missing parts greatly from their mass as they bob up and down in the small wakes of your steps.
Do they appear to have any valuables?
Upon one of the bodies, Scrap, you find 3 silver pieces and 1 gemstone worth 1 gold. Unfortunately, I did not tell which one it was, so I'll have to look up to see what 1 gemstone is worth 1 gold. Apologies. However, bursting out of the water, underneath this body is a giant crab that goes to grab at you. It misses entirely, but as it does so, another one bursts out of the water on the other side of the chamber, and you will now have to roll initiative, everybody.
Here we go.
Why so crabby?
Oh my. That is a 3. A 3 for Benjamin.
3 for, that's right, we have to remember to saying initiative. So it was a 3 for Benjamin and a 16 for Scrap. Thing is, crabs are pretty speedy, I guess. So the one by you gets to attack again. Its large, meaty claw firing out at you. They go and attack, and that is an 8.
I missed it. She's like, holy shit. She dodged.
It's near its mouth, its eyes looking left and right, and then back to you. You see the foam going up at its mouth as it gives like a slight hiss at you. Next up, Scrap.
You know what? Let's cast Mage Hand and use the bonus action to punch him, just so at least I have that running around. That is a 5 to hit.
That does not hit.
Go to swipe the rat claw. Misses. At least I have it up and ready now. Guess that concludes my turn.
Next up is going to be another crab. This crab is going to scuttle over into the water and attack you, Benjamin.
Ah,
Its other meaty claw. This one's meaty claw goes and strikes out at you. That's a 19
yes, that hits.
for 6 points of really bludgeoning. Okay, for bludgeoning damage.
It's a big claw.
You are also grappled.
Oh, good. It's always nice to be hugged.
With the pincers.
All right. Well, I'm gonna try to hit. I'm gonna try to hit him. All right. Speed becomes 0. Condition ends if their clapper is incapacitated. Ends if you're removed from the reach. I still have normal hitting. His bone sword shoots out of his palm and he swings down on the top of the crab. As a natural 20.
Yes,
Nice.
that's most certainly hits. Roll for damage.
Whew. We're gonna get a high score on that 20s today. Oh boy, that is gonna be an 8 total slashing damage as he lets out a cry and just kind of hits down at his arm, the arm that the claw is holding on to him.
Not gonna lie, this thing is ready for Red Lobster. So it's getting pretty close. As you bring your great bone longsword upon it, cracking bits of the outer shell, causing exposing of its innermost flesh.
I'll end my turn.
Okay, so that is the giant crab next to you, Scrap. It is going to attack with its claw, striking out at you as it continues to hiss angrily. That is a 16
That it?
for 6 points of bludgeoning damage, and you are also now grappled. As its claw reaches out and grabs you.
Down from this thing! If that didn't come through, get me down from this thing.
There we go.
Oh,
Now
there
I
we go.
heard it.
It's peaking a little.
Okay.
It was peaking a little bit, I guess.
Got it. A little too excited on the squeak in there. My apologies.
Next up is Scrap. You can use your action to escape if you'd like, or attempt to attack.
I'm so sorry. How many damage was that? I was pulling out my calculator because I'm bad at math and don't want to do it wrong.
6.
6. Bless you. Thank you. Okay. I am going to. I think she would use the mage hand to try to. Well, hold on. In order to escape the grapple, it has to be a strength check.
Yes.
No.
You feeling meaty today, or
Okay, I will try a strength check to get up. That's a 5. So no, we're gonna stay
nope?
put.
You struggle to kind of break free from this grasp, but unfortunately, it is still too strong and gripping tight upon you.
I'm able to use my bonus action still.
Yeah, you should be able to use a bonus action.
I'm gonna use the mage hand. I'm gonna punch him.
Punch away at a crab.
That is a 3, so that does not hit.
That does not hit. No crab
Nope.
for you for dinner tonight.
I love crab. All right, ending my
I
turn.
I legitimately, I'm going to be perfectly honest right now. I am starving, and I hate that I described cracking of the shell to get at the crab meat. I would murder
Oh,
for a crab with butter right now.
oh, absolutely.
I would moida for a crab with butter right now. Oh, jeez.
Mouths begin to water slightly.
Oh,
as we
yep.
Strangely enticed for some reason.
I should not be so excited about animals that are easily probably 3 times my own size. But I mean, that's a lot of crab meat,
Oh,
like that'd
yeah.
be delicious. Anyway, giant crab, the one that is grappled with you, Benjamin, decides to attack with its other claw.
I'm kind of like squirming around. Ah!
That is a 12.
No, it does not.
As you are scrumming about, your various bone plates kind of coming into place to create a bit of a natural barrier between you and its claw that's got you grappled. It's unable to kind of get a clear. It's got a grip on you, but you're sliding about a little bit, so it's unable to get a second attack upon you as you squirm about. Next up, then, is Benjamin.
Okay, another hit. Come on. And he goes to swing. It's 11.
That does not hit.
Uh,
Your long bone sword down, and unfortunately, it glances off one of the outer shell.
he's gonna end his turn.
Okie dokie bokey. Mr. Crab over here is going to attack you, Scrap, still.
Understand.
That is an 11.
Meets it, beats it. That hits.
So with it's now got it's got 2 claws about you and a nice little vice grip.
Reaming in terror.
You take 6 points of bludgeoning damage as it continues to hiss, bringing you closer and closer to its foaming little mouth as it kind of brings you further closer to itself.
Oh, crab mouth. No, thank you.
Scrap.
I think she's getting a bit panicked now that she's now being clutched by 2 claws. She's gonna pull out her hand axe and just start wailing on the claw closest to her. Natural one! A natural 1 again.
Oh,
For the folks at home, what do we have here?
hope you're keeping track.
The
Okay, keep
death
in
of my
score.
hopes and dreams. Ooh.
You bring your hand axe down to try and strike at it, and as you do so, it rebounds back up from the shell. And let's see, what do you got right now for health?
11.
11. Rebounds out, smacks you right in the snout for 1 point of bludgeoning damage, and then the reverse side of the axe hits you.
She turns her finger gun pointing at the head of this ugly crab. Boom. And tries to hit with disadvantage since it's so close.
Mm-hmm.
These natural ones.
Hope you're keeping track at home because that's another one. That is another one. Ding, 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 ding.
The amount of suffering that I am seeing up on screen here, people, is it is palpable. I could feel this. Frustrations upon all ends. Meanwhile, myself is just amazed that crabs are felling our heroes in such a way. Juicy, delicious crabs. Juicy, delicious crabs.
I could destroy an entire all-you-can-eat crab. I'd be happy. I might die, but I'd die happy. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, your finger guns. They fire and it rebounds off some stone wall. I'm gonna roll something here quick. As it hits the stone wall, bits of the ceiling begin to fall down.
Oh, God.
Each of you needs to make dexterity saving throws.
Whilst grappled in the claws.
Grappled?
Yes.
Okay. Just scrap?
No, both of you.
Here we go. That is. Ooh. I'd like you all to kind of. This is going to be great. As we're going to describe this. This is going to be a great description here. This. Not only have we gotten again the most extreme of the rolls, but we are going to push it even further. Amanda got a nat 20.
Yay!
And
Collin got a nat 1.
I got a nat 1, but with my negatives, it ended up being -1 for my dex save. So yeah, I definitely did not save.
The dice giveth and the dice taketh away.
I hope y'all are keeping track again. We're getting close to the high score.
A big piece of rubble from the ceiling drops down and slams into your shoulder, Benjamin, dealing you 5 points of bludgeoning damage. Not terrible. Scrap, you are able to see the ceiling fall, and in kind of a haste, you move to the side as a bit of rubble falls down and deals 3 points of bludgeoning damage on the crab's pincer that is holding you. So it is still up, but a little bit of the rubble has fallen down. Next up is your friend, Mr. Giant Crab, by you, Benjamin. Goes attack with its claw.
Come on. Squirming again.
12.
No.
It goes to snap at you. Once again, as you continue to squirm about, still able to kind of squirm about, even though you had just been bludgeoned by the ceiling. Benjamin, it is your turn.
He's gonna cry out and strike once more onto this crab to try to fell it.
That does not hit.
And he raises his arm and goes to do an action surge to take another action to swing once more as he's desperate. 16.
That does hit.
Dealing 11 points of slashing damage.
How do you kill this giant crab?
He realizes swinging isn't working. The mandible part where the crab is.
You're missing some amazing pantomime here, people.
The mandibles where the crab's mouth is. He then takes it, he angles his short sword and gets his palm holding this bone sword and thrusts it directly into the mandible, into the crab's face, up and just into it to get him to just drop dead.
You get it all up into it, and this giant crab hisses a moment and then scuttles from side to side, its claw slowly releasing you as it falls to the ground, dead.
The action surge was a special action. I would like to use my bonus action.
Wait, your action surge was a special action.
It is action surge is a special. It is not a bonus action to activate action surge, as it is an action type is special because it activates another action, and it doesn't count as a bonus.
On your turn, you can take one additional action on top of your regular, and possibly. Oh, my goodness, I could not recall. Okay, very well, very good, very good.
As he's released as the claw, he gets out of its grip, steadies himself, and takes a deep breath, gets a second wind. And I will go ahead and do second wind. 12, we're getting 12 hit points. I will use my movement.
All right.
And come around the side of the crab, and then my turn here.
Okay, it is that giant crab's turn. It is going to continue to tighten its grip and claw at Scrap. That is a 12.
That is
3 points of bludgeoning. How are you looking right now?
better.
Okay.
I'm at 7 at the moment, so.
Scrap, it is your turn.
How's the crab holding me look?
It actually hasn't had much damage done to it. In fact, the only damage that was done to it was that of the ceiling.
Since we're still close at hand, I'm gonna try to do another strength to escape the clutches. She twiddles her fingers, green energy glowing as she adds the die of fate to her strength ability check or saving throw rather.
There we go.
That does not succeed. I'm sorry.
Always okay.
Crab.
Here's your die of fate.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you.
So bonus action, I'm gonna use the mage hand to punch him. Ooh, a 12 to hit.
That does not hit.
All right, then that concludes my turn.
Okay, I'm sorry to say. Another bit just flies right past it as you continue to fire away. Benjamin.
Put my Scrap down! And he goes to swing swing his his bone sword.
That
is
is
19. And he comes crashing down on one of the arms of the claws. It is a 12 for the slashing damage.
How do you kill this giant crab?
Okay, he's just gonna continue to hack until he cracks through it, as he's trying to desperately get the crab to drop Scrap, as he's just trying to get him to. So he goes until he cracks through the crab.
Okay, you continue to hack away bit by bit by bit, climbing, like continually dividing bone or outer chitin and inner sinew as you break away that of Miss Scrap away from the clutches of the giant crab. They fall to the ground or to the water as there's a deep splash as it sprays all over the place. You are all out of combat now.
He goes over. Scrap, are you okay?
Yes, and you got it right. I'm so proud of you. Yes, I'm just fine. How about you?
I said Miss Scrap.
Oh, I didn't hear the miss. I was almost proud of
You're
you for a
getting used
moment.
to it. You're getting used to it.
No, I'm not. But I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Here, you should and he you have one.
Right, no,
drink.
don't give me yours. Fine. She looks over the crabs. Can I do a corpse walk to investigate the crabs?
Sure.
I was playing at home. Corpse walk was kind of an inside thing. I forgot that was not general.
Yeah, corpse walk is
nomenclature.
it's whenever we decide to kind of walk around any kind of, after all the battles have been
Post-battle.
done, look at corpse walk, see what's valuable upon the corpses. So, corpse walk. So with a 12, you find that it's a majority of they're giant crabs. There's not really much else that you can find here. It's bits of chitin. That's about it.
Nothing to graft.
I mean, let's see here. If you want to try and grab something from it, let me see what. Harvesting a graph from a monster. So I have to look. I have to look and see what's available. Beast's hide, beast of large size or larger. I think you can. Nope, that's a medium size. You can't do that. A bestial weapons beast with a bite or claw attack. So you could do that. So you could get a claw. Um, so you could get a claw hand. You could do a. That is about it.
No for me. I'm just taking a look.
Okay. You don't want a claw hand?
No claw hand.
Okay.
I do think you should consume a health potion, though.
I hate to use it since we just got it, but yeah, you're right. So it's 1d4.
2d4 plus
2?
4? 2. Gosh darn it. I always forget.
2d4 plus 2.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Red fluid. No pulp.
No pulp. Pulp?
Pulp?
So 2d4, so that was 8. Heck yeah. Okay, plus 2, 10, so 17.
Not much else in this room beyond that of the stairs descend circular downwards, spiraling. There's a lot of descriptors there that don't make sense, but they go down. These stairs go down.
You know what? Scrap takes her dagger, taps it, causing a red light. And she goes, I want to see what's down there. She decides to swim down the spiral staircase just to see.
Is it?
But she can breathe.
It's not.
Dry?
It's so. I should state that also that into this area is a fair amount of water that is flooded into what you could assume was the southwesternmost tower. The murky water slashes into your feet, cascading slowly down a series of stairs that wind downward to the far end of the chamber. So it's kind of like a small waterfall
So
situation.
they're not submerged stairs.
No, these are not. These stairs are not submerged. No.
Oh, well, should we look in the basement?
Let's go. Maybe. I wonder if we'll find another sibling. Start to
Okay.
go down.
Sorry, I thought I was going spelunking.
Okay. Arriving at the bottom of the stairs, you see a large central stone platform in the middle of the room. Several large sigils emblazoned upon the platform that rise slightly out of the water.
Could you describe the sigils? I take a look.
Give me an Arcana check.
That's an 18.
Benjamin, so you aren't really that much aware of magic, but you are aware enough to know that these are deeply magical and are fairly common, associated with that of Tempest Gates.
What I maybe know, since they use them to travel in Cluster Rock.
So you know that there are 2 Tempest Gate like hubs that are in Cluster Rock. One that's in the Brackwater district, which most people aren't allowed to utilize beyond that of people from the Kaztor Dwarven Empire. So, and also doctors and people that want to utilize these areas to basically teleport in to kind of like, travel. So it's kind of like it's a airport or travel hub essentially. But there is also another one that is located in the Talmos district, so the high elite district. So there are 2 Tempest Gate locations that are in Cluster Rock. You've never been in them necessarily, but you are aware of them because most people are not allowed to utilize these.
These are just like the gates in Cluster Rock.
You think we can travel from here to there using this thing?
I don't know if we know the end destination on where this one would go, though. As he kind of examines it, I don't know anything about magic enough to tell if it's been activated recently. But can you take a look at it and see if you can glean anything else from it? Because I know this is like the gates in Cluster Rock.
Should I do investigation, Arcana, just to look into it, or?
So you're trying to investigate what particularly about this? Sorry.
I'm looking for anything around to indicate where it goes to, or I guess our Tempest Gates, are they more of a, for lack of a better term, just say the destination and away you go?
Because of your knowledge of magic, you would need to know that basically it's a highly regulated situation where you need to be attuned to the gate, so kind of ownership of it. And if you have ownership of it, then basically you're able to travel utilizing it as so long as that it's similar to that of a transportation circle spell. So long as you have access to another one, you can utilize it, but you need to be able to know where this is going, because if you just utilize it, you don't know where it could go.
Somebody has access to this, but we don't know where. Is there anything around the room, any other scratchings in the wall to indicate other instructions like we've seen around?
Benjamin, go ahead and give me a perception check. It's just wondering about quick. 7.
That's a 7.
Okay. You don't notice anything in particular. Scrap, you can give me a perception check if you'd like. 3. Yeah, don't notice anything in particular here.
As much as I would like grand adventures, walking through magic gates without the other side, that's scary stuff.
Is this made out of stone?
Yes.
Is there anything else of note in the room?
With those perception checks, you would notice that there are glass bottles just kind of lined up, or just in various areas around the stone circle, but that's about it.
Anything in the glass battles?
You look in them and you can find that there appears to be remnant of some sort of liquid, but you're not sure what type.
Well, we know this room is a sort of access entry or escape point. I don't know if there's much else we can do in here for now. What do you think?
Might as well take a couple of these with us. Scrap grabs a couple of the empty bottles and prestidigitate to clean them out, so at least they have a couple empty vessels for whatever use. All right, so that was the snake one. We still have the last one, the bloated fish. Just have to make sure to drain out the winding snake jar first.
Let's make our way back up there.
Turning of the clock, we arrive back to that of the area that you were just in with that of the 3 jars. You empty out the pot of the winding fish and fill up the winding snake, and then what are you going to do?
The bloated fish. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You hear a chime, and to your direct right, a doorway appears into a long hallway.
4 out of the 5 doors we've walked through, it's been a surprise. So Benjamin, he peeks in.
You see a long hallway, and of course there is a semicircular area that dips slightly to your left. At the end of the long hallway, though, you're unable to see anything else clearly.
Want me to take point or you taking point?
Let's just go.
As you journey further down this hallway, Benjamin and Scrap, you find directly to your left a small alcove with an area that has kind of made a makeshift desk. There are a number of dead individuals upon the ground, largely desiccated of skeletal remains, and some that are directly dried out. The one thing you notice upon this makeshift desk is that there are a number of various bottles and tinctures and alchemical supplies, as well as various syringes and needles.
Are these bottles and tinctures and everything, are they covered in any amount of dust? Do they seem to have been around as long as these corpses have?
No, they actually appear fairly recent.
With the corpses on the ground, do they appear dwarvish, gnomish?
They vary. There is a dwarven body, there is a human body, a gnome, looks to be an elven body, but there are various races here.
Did I bring any, like, the instruments that we have from given to us by Dr. Honeyeater? It's like a small knife, correct?
Yes. Alchemical
these-
supplies, medical medicine or healer's kit, and a small knife.
This is a bit of a stretch, but I kind of walk up and compare mine to that of the ones there.
It's not 1-to-1. It's the standard alchemical supplies. It's not like you see anything emblazoned saying property of this individual, etc. It's just standard alchemical stuff. The proper nomenclature for it.
Got it. There's stuff. It doesn't look like that these corpses have died from touching this table. There's just supplies on it.
No, you can just see that there's just a bunch of supplies, bottles filled with liquids. The bodies themselves are just in various positions around the area.
Any of the liquids I recognize from maybe since I've been cleaning up and setting and organizing similar liquids in Dr. Honeyeater's office.
Would you say that you had, either of you, been involved in seeing on a day-to-day basis the various stuff that would be associated with Dr. Honeyeater's office? I mean, you've probably been called in a few times, I'm guessing. And would you say that you've been more kind of learned about that, I suppose?
I would say that Benjamin would have tried to come back and try to learn from Dr. Honeyeater. He's a little bit, not that he's dismissive, but it's not like he would have called for me.
Sure.
But he would have tried to at least a couple of times to try to come and see.
I would say just if you want to roll with either a nature or potentially an arcana, you might be able to disseminate exactly what maybe these jars or anything contain.
I'll try out a nature check.
Okay.
Okay. That's a 7.
7. Various bits and baubles associated with that of brewing of various mixtures, poultices, potions of that nature. You're not able to see exactly what specifics they are.
May I do a medicine check on the corpses to see potential causes of death? I know some of them are too desiccated to tell, but any sort of broken bones, head trauma, anything like that.
Sure. So, with a 15 scrap, as you lean down, you find there is a common thing that is evident upon these bodies. There are numerous puncture marks associated with that of what you would assume would be needles. As far as death, they vary. As far as, someone looks like their head was smashed in, another, they're missing a jaw. You're unable to see exact deaths, but you're able to see like one common thing associated with that of these bodies is the puncture marks associated with that, and those that are fairly desiccated, dehydrated skeletons, you're not able to see much.
So these look, Scrap kind of leans over. Yeah, these look like these might have been from our friend in the swamp, the one that was messing with that dead dwarf.
Somebody's been taking more and more samples.
The gnome body that's here, is there anything distinctive about the clothing that's being worn? Like, is this one of the, is it a gnome noble or a dwarven noble or anything of that nature?
Oh no, all these are just bare as hell. There's no clothes or anything.
Nothing. Got it.
Benjamin continues to go down the hallway over here and tries to see what is in this room.
You arrive to find a rather not lavish library, but there's a number of books that are upon the wall, moldy, and also a map upon a table on the far end of the room, as well as stairs that seem to descend down into a flooded area, and stairs that seem to go up on the far end, on the far south side of the chamber. So directly on the eastern side, there is staircase that goes down into floody, murky water, and then a staircase that goes up on the south side, as well as the table with a map and various moldy books.
Before I go chasing after Benjamin, I want to do a quick investigation of the desk itself just to see if there's any drawers that could be opened with anything inside.
You're just looking to see if any drawers can be opened?
Yep, drawers
Sure.
or anything of note besides the medical stuff we can see.
Yep. You don't really find any special compartments or anything like that. They're just standard drawers. You find various implements utilized in making powders and poultices, mortar and pestle, that kind of thing. You don't find anything of note.
Dang. Okay. She follows after Benjamin.
And that was a 9, by the way. I have to remember that.
Sorry. No.
You follow after Benjamin.
Oh, that looks like there's a map over on this table here. He goes over to take a look.
Benjamin, as you look up on the map, you see you're not, with your survival, you are aware of the general area associated with that of Cluster Rock and the Stillwake Marsh. You've seen various maps of old areas of the respective noble gnomish families and their kingdoms for the most part of what it used to be, as well as a general map of that of Kostur. What you see here is a large map detailing that of the Stillwake Marsh, detailing various points in which there are black X's. There's a number of black X's that are directly surrounding that of Cluster Rock and around that of Castle Raulnor that you see here upon the map, and various other gnomish castles that you can presume.
Am I able to roll this map up?
Yes.
I'd like to add it to my carrier that I have.
It has
So I
been
do
added to
have
your
a
inventory.
yeah, I do have that the map case.
Okay, you add this map to your map case.
Apologies. Anything of note in the bookshelves?
So a majority of these are moldy covered books. There's not much to see. They're waterlogged and of various repair and state. If you want to give me an investigation check, you'd certainly look to see if there's anything of note. Just a casual perception check, though, you would see a majority of these books are the various flora and fauna associated with that of Stillwake Marsh. There are a couple of history books of the Raulnor family. There are some various other books associated with that of making potions and the like. With an intelligence check of 14 for an investigation, you are able to see that there is one in particular book that is not bound by a standard book covering it. It appears to be almost well protected and actually shows much use from being taken out and put back in. You see that it contains that of the title Changing One's Life.
She twiddles her fingers, uses Mage Hand to glide it off of the shelf.
As you do so, you find that it's not truly a book. It appears to be some sort of container that looks in appearance of a book, so a hollowed out book.
Okay, I carefully
Oh.
open it.
As you open it, you see that the book has been hollowed out, and there is actually a bottle with a swirling golden liquid within. It looks to be mostly full.
She holds it up to the light, kind of watching the swirls. You ever seen anything like this?
I make a medicine check.
Yeah, I'm gonna as well. If that's the appropriate check.
Well, I mean, that's whatever check you want it to be.
Yeah, I'll start with a medicine check.
13.
13.
5. The pair of you, as you look at this, you're aware of various medicines of different shades and consistencies. You're not really sure what type of medicine, if this is any medicine, it could be.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Does it
Hmm.
feel does it feel magical?
She kind of holds her hand over the glass. May I do an Arcana check?
It takes you a moment to realize what this is, Scrap. Upon your many journeys without the Port Ilse, a common occurrence that happens whenever someone's taking a ship, especially one that is docked in a respectable area, is to utilize a very rare and very precious type of potion, rather, of alter self.
She starts kind of laughing to herself. This is good. Potion of Alter Self, she said.
Ooh. What does that do?
Well, it alters oneself. Yeah. She stows it away in her bag.
I wonder why it's hidden in a container like this. Well, obviously someone uses it to disguise themselves.
You know, she takes the book and the potion together. Or
You think we
with
should
her.
put it back? I think we should put the book back. Do you want to keep it?
It's a cool book. She takes the potion out. She puts the book back.
Yeah, it might be. I know it could be evident that somebody was rummaging if there's a big space there.
Yeah, I suppose. Are any other are any of these books? I know there's a lot of them that's mildewy, but with the investigation, any of them that seem salvageable that we might take back to the gnome leader?
I would say, just give me a d20 roll.
15.
I would say that you'd be able to take the Raulnor noble family book as well as local flora and fauna book.
Raulnor noble family and
Uh,
flora and fauna.
flora and fauna of the Stillwake Marsh.
And he goes over to the stairway with the murky water.
Hmm.
Does it look like that there's any visibility because someone has gills now?
It's fairly murky, but obviously, it's swamp water, so it's going to be a little hard to see, but
How deep does it go? As I take a look,
you're unable to see how deep it goes.
this is kind of iffy. Actually, yeah, I don't like that.
Might be good stuff though.
Uh,
Hey, pull out your rope. She's asking him, since hers is back with a snake eye.
mm, mm. I go to tie it around your waist.
All right, if I tug, pull me back. Okay. She
Okay.
taps on her dagger again, kind of uses it, puts it between her teeth and starts to swim down into the murky water.
And he stands as on dry ground, so he's able to plant his feet. And he gets the very end of the rope while she's going down and ties that end around him and is letting it out from slack. I have a total of 45 feet currently.
Scrap. Descending further and further down into this murky water, you're finding that the staircase continues to descend into a strange sensation of where there is a silt layer separating that of the darker, murky swamp water above and a clearer, almost bluish water below. And as you descend beyond that silt into this bottom bluish, clearer water layer, you find that below you are a number of casks and coffins. You have now realized that you have descended further into that of the catacombs of the Raulnor castle. The passageway extends further beyond that of where you are, at least, from what you can tell, about 60 feet from your current position in a central corridor of water as you are deep below.
How much of the feet of the rope have we expended at this point?
30 feet.
Can she swim to the closest casket? Closest to her? Or
The,
is that
close,
too far?
the closest coffin, or whatever,
Mhm.
that's right here. So you would, that's about 10 feet. So yeah.
Is there any sort of marking or name on it in any way that I can see?
It's in Gnomish, but you would probably see that a lot of it is, it's in Gnomish.
Is there any indication of wildlife or anything that's taken up shop down here?
You are. Give me a perception check.
8.
In this deep water, the only thing you could potentially see that has taken up residence have maybe been the small, small, like fish or whatever, respectively, like amphibians that have made their way down into this area. As you can see, they kind of skirt about in various respective corners and cracks in the water into the various coffins and caskets. But that's all you can see.
She kind of looks at the rope around her waist, looks down the corridor that extends far beyond the capabilities of this rope. But she thinks better of it now that she's alone. She doesn't want to risk it. So she starts to swim her way back up the spiral staircase.
Okay.
Unless there was anything shiny that she saw down there, but I don't think she did.
With a gasp, well, actually, you can breathe underwater, so you don't even really gasp. You arrive from that of the staircase, kind of climbing back up the rope about your waist as you see Benjamin there.
The gills work.
Yeah, they work. And she starts untying herself. There's a whole bunch of dead things down there. Well, it's a catacomb.
Hmm.
Couldn't see anything. Bunch of gnomish down there, but
Did you see a name?
couldn't read it. It's gnomish. But yeah, just
Could you tell me what it looked like?
well, it was about gnome size,
No,
and
I
it
mean
was.
like the letters. Tell me your best estimation of what it looked like.
She gives a very crude r- rendering of the name that she was able to see. But I gotta tell you, it was pretty messed up with all that water.
Give me a history check.
I'll try. 7.
She has to do a history check to
Oh,
to
whoops.
basically to communicate this. So yeah, you're able to communicate the general lettering. From what you can tell, Benjamin, it looks like Raulnor, or sounds like Raulnor too.
It's the name of the place.
Not surprising that.
Is there anything
Yeah,
else besides the catacombs?
I mean, there was more down there, but I was gonna have to untie myself and go solo, which I know how much you would love that.
His eyes
And
widen.
yeah, I wasn't. I'm not very fast, even with these. And she kind of clicks the webbing that's between their hands, but didn't want to risk it. You imagine? We've already dealt with an undead ogre. What other undead crap is rolling around down there?
Was it just murky and dark? How could you see?
No, it was weird. It was like all the scum was just floating towards the top. Once you got down about halfway, it was clear as crystal down there. Just dark.
How far under the stairs do they go? Because I was at the top of the stairs.
Yeah, you could probably go into the water maybe an additional 10 feet, but the rope only extended down the staircase to about 30 feet that you had extended until she probably would have had like an additional 20 feet or so.
So if I move down a little bit further, I could potentially give you a little bit more room.
You'd still only be able to get maybe a quarter of the way through the room with the rope about your waist.
I mean, I could try without the rope, just to see if there's anything worth it down.
If you can take it down there with you and stretch it as far as possible, don't go too far and stray from it, and just if you're able to swim quickly to the rope and tug on it, I can pull you back. I trust you, but I'd be a little worried. But I trust
We'll
you.
give it one more shot, and then we've got more pots to fill. And she gives a salute and then dives back into the water. This time holding onto the end of the rope as opposed to tying it to herself. She makes her way back down into the catacombs.
You descend back down into that murky water, descending past the silt layer into the cool, clear, bluish area. You have the light of the dagger upon you, right?
Yeah.
It's a kind of a juxtaposition of red and blue in this area, as you're able to see further out and to see this long, stretching hallway of all the various coffins and caskets that stretch out from this catacomb to the far end of the chamber.
Does she swim maybe an additional, taking it very slow, just another 15 feet out or so?
Okay, under 15 feet, you are able to get there.
Do I see anything of note?
You do not see anything of note. The water is clear, blue, and still, upon the floor below you is all the numerous amount of caskets that contain the ancestors of the Raulnor gnomish family.
These caskets seem disturbed in any way. Like any sort of, during the castle's takeover, some sort of anything.
You see various skeletons upon the ground. Most likely they are probably bodies where the caskets had been broken open at one point via looting or of that nature, but there's not really anything else beyond that that's disturbed.
Well, she goes another 10 feet deeper into the area.
You are now in the middle of this chamber, halfway across the corridor.
This is very exciting, but also terrifying. Just waiting
Anything
for,
of note?
the little
There is
legend.
nothing of note that you can see beyond that of the coffins below you. The stonework of their outer lids staring up at you with vacant gnomish relief eyes.
Can I see the end of the corridor at this point? Because it's what?
Yes, I'd say you'd be able to see the end of the corridor, and there is a staircase that goes up.
Is there anything else on that end of the room?
There is a staircase that goes up.
Go for it.
Is this the demon on her shoulder, or what's going on?
It swims forward towards the staircase.
Okay. Do you ascend up?
Very slowly. Don't give me wild eyes now, sir.
I'm not looking at you. I'm just looking.
Ascending up the staircase, you find yourself in a rather large room. It's enclosed. You don't notice anything beyond that of what appears to be the water kind of skirts out to in a sense, a makeshift beach. There is part of this chamber that is flooded, and at the far end of the chamber, you can see that there are a number of skeletal bodies that have been chained up against the wall. You also see that there is a large black mound that is upon the far end of the chamber.
Oh God.
Twiddles her fingers. There's the green mage hand that kind of goes forward and rattles one of the chains that's attaching one of the bodies to the wall on the closest side to her.
So you jiggle one of the chains. As you do so, the mound begins to shift and uncurl this massive form. You see rising up from the center a very large, deep black iridescent snakehead. Its eyes deep golden.
Oh God.
It looks over at where you shook the chain, And for a moment, its head looms ever slowly to the skeletal remains before its eye flicks back into your direction, and its head slowly turns. It then speaks, but not with its mouth. You hear its voice in your head. Troublemaker.
I'm trying not to be, she says out loud.
Are you here to stop the ascension?
I don't think so. I'm not sure what that is. I'm sorry. Are you Elias?
You see a moment where the snake begins to slowly slither forward, going through the water, and its head dipping down into the water towards you, as its eyes gleam gold and bright, shining in the water.
Yes.
Okay. It's nice to meet you, Your Eminence. Lifebringer, the best.
Why are you here?
We were sent to figure out why some of the animals were changing.
They are ascending.
What is ascension? She's kind of swimming backwards a little bit.
It continues to move slowly and slowly forward as it still speaks in your mind. It is to bring back the primal spirits. Our kind. My kind.
So there are more of you then? She's backing up a little bit more.
Its jaw begins to unhinge as the teeth begin to be bared, as it doesn't speak any longer and lunges at you.
I'm guessing this is an initiative situation.
That is an 8.
But Mrs.
It lunges forward and you move down quickly as it slams up against the stone wall. I will give you 1 time to move, and then we're gonna have to start kind of an initiative thing here.
You've got your swimming speed. Its swimming speed is the same as your regular speed now, right?
Yes.
With the gills.
So
Start dashing. Oh my!
I'm going to dash down away and go back through the corridor.
Get to that rope.
Okay, so you dash down.
I think I would kind of down for it, just trying to minimize the speed. Just
So that
get as
is-
far down there as I can. My
That
movement speed's
is-
25, so I'm only going to make it 50 feet.
Okay, so you get to here.
How far away is the rope from here?
Where did you leave the rope? I think you left it like right about 20 feet from the entrance. So you're halfway. You're nearly to the rope.
Okay. As she's swimming, she can't do that, can she? I was going to say she twiddles her fingers, but
Okay.
I think she's just going to focus on swimming.
In the depths of the water, you don't really hear it, but you kind of almost feel it in the sensation of the water, almost as if there's a large shape behind you. As you see, busting through the lower staircase is the giant head of this deep black iridescent snake, its mouth agape as it begins to try and charge further down this corridor. The entire corridor is almost pretty much squeezing its massive size against it. It is taking up that much room of this place as it begins to surge forward. Various coffins and caskets may be cast up, creating a cloud of bone and dust and silt as it tries to get closer and closer as it continues to advance.
I feel rumbling and hear.
You would probably now feel rumbling now above you, Benjamin.
As soon as I feel rumbling, I'm like, scrap, and he tightens his grip on the rope and readies himself to pull. He's like, come on, and waits.
Okay, 1 additional turn.
I'm a dashing.
You a dash. Your small claw rat-like hand. Your small rat hand reaches forward, grabs the rope.
I feel it immediately start pulling, just pulling. just pulling as much as possible, and I feel it go. As soon as I feel a movement on the rope from her grabbing it, I just fully start pulling.
The last thing you hear, Scrap, as you get pulled up out of the water, is that voice once again.
Troublemaker.
I think she would gasp reflexively as she breaches a surface just out of terror. We need to go, we need to go, we need to run, we need to go.
Oh, okay. He's coiling the rope, stuffing it in the bag. Go where? Leaving here? Go up the stairs?
On the boat, run, we need to go. Big frickin' snake.
Without another word, yeah. If you say run, that's Benjamin's favorite thing. Let's go. Yeah, let's just we're hightailing it.
Listening, does the snake appear to be following?
As you're basically running down, you're feeling the shaking of the castle as bits and pieces of the stone begin to give way and parts of the roof begin to fall down. Dust is showering upon you, and there are bits of the ceiling that are falling down as well.
So it's still
run.
moving.
Keep sprinting.
Okay.
Both of you give me perception checks.
Nat 1. First thing I heard was run.
Benjamin, you don't notice this. However, Scrap, in your heightened state of fear at being chased by that of basically the equivalent of twice the size, easily, maybe 3 times the size of what would be considered a natural predator for your kind, you turn back and you see descending the staircase and rounding the corner is that of Dr. Honeyeater, as he is actually having a hand upon his head, his long gangly body, as he continues to rush down the hallway with a big pack, it appears to be, of various documents, as he rushes past you.
Past!
And then past Benjamin.
Miss Scrapper, whoa! Dr. Honeyeater?
4272, light on your foot, please, light on your foot.
Okay, let's keep going.
He approaches that of the jar that was opening to that of the southwestern tower that led to the Tempest Gate, and immediately fills it to the point of where it needs to be filled. As he continues to do so, you hear a rumbling once again, as all of you in your mind now hear it.
Troublemakers.
As you can see in the dark corridor that of the golden light of the eyes. Further down, as the giant snake continues to push through the gate, through the corridor.
That other urn. I gotta empty it. Shut that thing. You fill that other urn, Dr. Honey. I'm emptying the other one so we can close that door.
He charges down to the southwestern door, not even bothering to really wait for you either, as he's just going down to the southern door. He clambers down the staircase, almost tumbling over himself in his long, gangly appearance. He's almost as if he's a flailing spider with his long limbs. He continues to descend out of the stairs. As he gets to the bottom of the Tempest Gate, he instantly steps aboard it and motions for you both to step aboard.
Yep, I'm just
we
stepping
follow.
on.
Within his pack, he takes what appears to be a strange-looking black orb. He lights it and tosses it, and immediately, as soon as he tosses it, there is a bright, shining light, and you all appear in that of a Tempest Gate location, with numerous other Tempest Gates about you, with several animated dwarven armors around you. Instantly, they raise their arms and wonder what has appeared before them. A dwarf approaches your party and states, "What are you doing here in Cluster Rock? What is your business?"
Do we recognize the dwarf? It sounds like
It is. I'm just doing a generic. It's just a
Okay.
dwarf. It's just a dwarf. The equivalent of a dwarf TSA agent. I'll just say that. Okay. Like it's just.
I mean, is this Cluster Rock? Have we seen this Tempest Gate?
You've never been inside, like we discussed. Yeah, you're aware, but
Mhm.
you are at the Tempest Gate locations.
I'm at this point. I'm just like breathing hard and just like, I mean, and he looks at Dr. Hunter. Yeah,
Honeyeater doesn't even look to you as he descends the staircase, his long, gangly arms, as he begins to tuck the stuff underneath him, and then he looks back to your group, and he motions you for you to follow him. Well, come on then.
we do so following after him. I do so. Yeah, I go down.
Kind of stops and looks at him for a moment, but figures she'll follow regardless.
As you follow after Dr. Honeyeater, he exits at a Tempest Gate location, easily pushing past the dwarves and their astounded expressions. They seem to give him a wide berth as he continues to walk down the staircase of that of Tempest Gate building, which is located in the Brackwater district. You recognize it immediately with all the various dilapidated buildings nearby. As he ascends the staircase, he looks back to your group, and with a slight tilt of his bird-like head, covered with the bird mask, he gives a slight nod.
Good first assignment. We must go back to the office now.
Good first assignment. And for the first time, Benjamin gets an angry look on his face. Hold on. You left us. This is crazy. And he stops. Wait.
He continues to walk as he speaks to you.
He's like, I did not leave you for, what was it, 73? It was 73, wasn't it?
72.
72, the twos, damn it, yes. 72. I did not leave you 42 and 72. I merely had to disperse the rest of the ravens and myself due to an attack by that of the primal spirits. I knew that ascension was something that could be definitely something that could occur, that of the Stillwake Marsh, but I was not aware of it happening so soon.
Now he's struggling to keep up with him. Did you the snake, the ascended snake, the Lifebringer?
Yes, that was most likely a result of the magical miasma brought about by that of the blight bloom. I'm sorry. It's been quite a day. Now, I would suggest you save your questions for later. As we discussed, if you help one person, you help many others. The both of you have said this as much. Now, follow after me. There are many others that we need to be assisting with.
Mr. Mightstag is furious.
You would have every right to be. Yes. I abandoned my post.
He's actually looking for you. And
then we'll have to
I think it wasn't good things if he does find you, as I definitely want to warn you of that. Right? He looks over.
He continues to keep walking for a few feet more before he stops and turns around.
My dear children, there are many things in this life that are more frightening than that of an aggravated dwarf. Myself definitely is included in that number.
And he turns about face and walks.
Statement kind of stuns me for a second, but then still struggle to keep up and continue to follow him.
As you follow after Dr. Honeyeater to that of the offices, you find that when you arrive, that there are actually a number of pale ravens that have resumed service back here again. You don't really recognize every single one. There's at least 10 or so that are at the offices. But as he goes in, he turns to your group and says,
Children, we have much work to do. Unfortunately, the magical miasma has gone and created for that what we dreaded most, contributing towards a new rebirthal period.
Our mouth drops open. A new rebirthal period?
Yes. Every few centuries or few millennia, depending on the cycle, it cycles over. It turns out that this is what most likely the Eastern Light had influenced. That something involving that of the magical miasma has warped the fauna and flora of the Stillwake Marsh, creating ascended beasts. And I fear that this is going to be quite a situation to deal with. Still, good for the first assignment. Good night, everyone. You have a good evening. We shall talk in the morning. Thank you.
And at that, he goes to his office and shuts the door. All right. Well, that was Plaugelands.
Turtles. Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am ready to just fly into this discussion here.
Oh, okay. So thoughts?
Just to get just starting right from the top. The puzzles, it was
I felt like I maybe overcomplicated them a bit, sorry.
no. I kind of liked being able to. We've been getting a taste of of a wide array of things, and puzzles had yet to been done until now. And it was nice to do a little bit of brain stretching, just to really look at what was happening and just do some deductive reasoning. And yeah, it was. I enjoyed that. The danger in each room, I liked that, as there was rarely a spot that we would go into where there wasn't something going down. Amanda, what were your thoughts on the giant toilet ogre?
I just was surprised that shutting the door worked. I figured he was gonna come through, take half the building with him, and flatten us. But I'm I'm glad that it worked. The crabs almost did us in.
So the funny thing about the crabs is that their AC is 15, but they only have like 13 health. So it's like
And
really one of those situations where if you're not hitting, it could be a problem. So
I certainly was not hitting. Um,
We did not break our high score of nat ones, but we got
hey,
close.
okay,
With finally some nice nat 20s.
yeah.
And the cinematic splitting of the party,
I was
which
I was
was
curious if that was gonna
absolute terrifying.
if that was gonna happen or not.
oh man.
There were at least so so there's so much not so much spoilers, but there were at least two instances where you would have been able to get a quote unquote conclusion to this. So if you had gone upstairs, you would have met Dr. Honey Eater up there. But gonna hit the panic button on that with the giant snake. So um yeah, so
Which one were you hoping for?
I mean giant snake, obviously. So the other one the other one would have been a little bit more chill. There was gonna be something that Honey Eater was gonna talk about, but obviously that wasn't gonna work. So that's what happened. Yeah. So my goal for this was that I was trying to explore various like obviously my one of my bigger inspirations for this was wanting to do some like Fallout as far as like the influence of like flora, fauna, magical miasma, that kind of stuff. And I had this idea for something I wanted to do for building into the next rebirthal period I had for Arta. So for those of you who don't know, I try not to go too far into the lore, but so Arta is a world that basically is called Dwindle Flare, where every so often the Eastern Light will flare up and create a situation in which a cataclysm will happen. And it doesn't mean that necessarily the world will end, it's just it changes the world. Like that's how the Shattered Isles were created because there was a giant explosion that happened there. The Continental Divide was one point created because of the Eastern Light. It's just stuff keeps happening, which creates a giant, massive change. And I wanted to do a new one, and I had this idea about ascended animals and ascended primal spirits. And I liked the idea of essentially of doing that. And so that's why you have Elias. And so yeah, that was the main reason. I know that there's a lot of mystery that's probably been left to people's own interpretations of what's potentially going to happen or what happened, but I hope I left it vague enough, but also specific enough that people could figure out a little bit of what's going on. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I mean, thoughts like anything else. So-
This is a term I tend to, I guess, overuse, but cinematic, just of Scrap swimming through
I was worried that
the
I'm not using the right words for this, but for cinematic.
Oh, but
just Scrap swimming through the bluish water that was free of the murkiness, but still dark. Seeing the black mound, and then how are you feeling?
I thought it was another ogre at first because it was just like a similarly described, like dark, amorphous mount, which is why I used the mage hand to jiggle the chains because I didn't want to go up and poke it. As soon as I heard the word uncoiled, I was like, oh, oh, it's a snake. Oh,
A big, huge squeezing the halls that were it was barely fitting.
uh,
Oh,
as Scrap, horrified, as Amanda, elated beyond belief. I was like, badass snake god. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah, so as far as prevailing theories and like what are people's thoughts or in general, like what are you excited about? want to learn more about? What did you have in mind of what you were wanting to do? I mean, was this doesn't really end with a giant battle necessarily, or anything like that, but what were your thoughts on that?
I think just the dread of being chased out by the snake. I mean, there was no need for fighting because you knew nobody was going to win that situation. I am deathly intrigued by Elias and the whole ascended creatures. Makes me wonder what other types of ascended creatures there might be throughout Arta, like given region.
So one, really brief, I was actually very surprised that I rolled so low on the attack just to get to you. It's like, oh, okay.
That's I mean it's perfect, it fits it fit the situation kind of perfectly for it to be like, oh, it's time to run. Jun, 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 jun.
I'm just imagining like the head just slowly coming closer. And she knew obviously he was not coming in for a kiss. It's like she wants to know more. Oh, sorry, getting wheezy and squeaky because I'm excited about this, but honestly, so badass. And the fact Dr. Honeyeater comes running down the stairs. I mean, I figured we'd run into him at some point, but the fact he's just like, keep up, and he keeps running is like, oh,
Okay, here we go.
at that point, you had to, even if you don't trust him, overall, in that moment, you had to trust him because you're like, he knows the way out. We gotta go. I don't care.
Like, were either of you expecting to potentially fight Dr. Honeyeater? Was that it? Was it basically just
No,
no?
I wasn't
No,
expecting to fight him. But I wasn't really expecting to see him.
no. I expected he would be like a down like, far and away thing, like, "Oh, yes, I've been studying on the far side, needed a vacation," or something. I didn't expect to run into him so soon because so early that rug was pulled out from under us that he's just gone. So I didn't it was a complete surprise that to see him again. It's like, "Oh." And at first I was concerned or not concerned, but I wondered if the dwarves somehow knew what was going on in the castle just by the words you found the snakes essentially. So it
Mm.
made me question like who exactly was involved and in the know about this. So
I am definitely intrigued and would like to know more.
Would you like to know
And
more?
what
uh,
to know more.
it was what an ending. Just
I hope it was satisfying enough. I know that it was very brief, very
oh
quick,
yeah.
but it's because the goal was that it was just to explore certain mechanics and also just kind of get associated with this weird dumb idea we had. I mean, at the very end of it, how did you feel as far as rolling up stats that way? Then at the very end of all of it,
I mean, well, we obviously do tend to roll on the lower side, but I mean, with the sheer amount of nat ones, I feel like that's just unlucky.
that is just plain unlucky.
But honestly, for how I feel for Benjamin, it trended slightly lower, but
Mm.
it was interesting to play into the fact of someone who's not as not as much of an adventurer and someone who used to be a lot more sickly and isn't still tip top shape, but trying their best. It was interesting to play into somebody like that as more of an underdog type of a situation.
I feel like it may chafe against some people who are min-maxers who are trying to maximize the damage and output of their character, but a lot of what makes D&D and other role play games so awesome is being able to take those flaws and detriments and turn them into story moments. Like Scrap trying to, knock over an ogre because her fighting style didn't work. She was humbled. She had a reason to change how she saw the world because she failed. It
Mm.
also made fights a lot more terrifying because you're not sure you're gonna come out of even the smallest skirmish because your stats are horrendous and you could fail pretty much everything, and yeah, the dice certainly were not kind to us in this playthrough, but
I know we didn't really get to utilize much of the mechanic because we did talk up Valda's a little bit as far as the monstrous graphs, but I feel like we got to showcase a little bit of the interesting aspects of the other parts of Valda's involving the subclasses. Like, how would you feel as far as both of those things? Like Valda's in general, we sang its praises at the very beginning of all this, but how would you feel about what we explored this time, and then also potentially exploring in the future?
Just to sing the praises once more of the War Mage class, allowing so much versatility and giving Mage Hand a bit of an extra zing of life.
Mm.
Also, did the subclass of the Bone Knight, being able to try to intimidate with a bone sword. Just I feel the subclass has kind of definitely helped me role play with the character a lot.
Hmm.
I don't know, Amanda. Wouldn't want to speak for you on that, but yeah.
I think that that's a fair assessment. It's not like we haven't seen casters and fighters before, but they are so unique in their implementation and the way that they characterize their style of fighting, I suppose. It made it a lot more compelling. I wanted to learn everything about all the different houses of the Warcaster. The Bone Knight was terrifying. It could be played as, badass, melancholy. Benjamin made it more. I think it was more of a story element with the not wanting to fight and giving a reason as to why, because it hurts and it sucks to use your bones to fight. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's so much in that book that just kind of gives new life to a game that maybe you've played a lot and already gotten used to your bog standard casters and fighters and things.
Yeah. And that's kind of the goal of this podcast in a sense. Is one, again, as we talked about it, to explore strange new systems and everything like that, but also to tell fun stories. But mainly, my main goal was to feature third-party supplements a lot more. They
Mhm.
are the lifeblood of this hobby. You've got the main games that people utilize, but as I'm not going to get off, I'm going to not get on a pulpit or a soapbox here, but as we've kind of
Broaching
seen
with
it,
the box.
right, as we've seen in recent years, is that one thing that we have to remember is that it is not the big people that own the hobby. We own the hobby. The hobbyists, the players, the people that actually really care for these creative endeavors. And those are the ones you want to support. Those are the ones you want to try and pump new blood into the hobby. I do think that it's going to continue to grow in different areas. There's a lot, and I mean this, there is a lot of different tabletop RPGs that we're going to try to explore because there are a lot out there. Yeah, so I hope the pair of you had a good time, and I hope that anyone who was listening to this had a good time as
Absolutely.
well for the story and also just the weird mechanics and other chicanery. As I've stated before, is that you can follow us at our Instagram at Tables and Fables Pod, as well as our Blue Sky, tablesandfablespod.bsky.social, as well as Tables and Fables Pod on YouTube. Again, if you want to rate us a 5 star or leave a comment, that greatly helps us grow. That gets us so that we can potentially get more of an audience and potentially be able to do more of these in the future. The goal is, again, to try and do these about weekly or so. We'll see how that plays out depending on schedules and everything like that. Yeah, is there anything else you guys would like to plug or say? Or
I
Oh,
mean,
thanks. Yeah. Thanks for
yeah,
joining us. I cannot wait to when we eventually come back to the Plaugelands. I'm hooked. Can't
okay.
wait to see.
absolutely.
I'm glad to hear that. And I want to thank you both for joining me on this journey and for being okay doing this with me. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
so
100%.
awesome. So, no matter what time it is for you, morning, evening, or night, I hope you're having a good time. Thanks, and you'll hopefully listen to us next time.
All right. Night, everybody.
Bye.
See you later. Bye bye. Be good.
There it is.
Yes.